Thank you. Senator Davey.
Thank you very much. Look, let's be clear. The Environment Minister's appalling decision to block the McPhillamys gold mine in Blayney is just another example of a growing list of Labor failures, particularly in regional Australia. The Albanese government needs to be held to account for what it has done, not just to Blayney and the community of Blayney, but to the mining sector, to the Australian economy and to Australia's reputation as a good place to invest. The cancellation of a $1 billion investment into this country on the baseless claims put forward by a legally insignificant Indigenous corporation and whose views have been roundly questioned and dismissed by countless other recognised Indigenous bodies is, as I said, appalling. And some of the headlines that have been reported on this decision from other Aboriginal corporations, the Daily Telegraph, none of us have heard of it. Land Council in the Australian, Land Council chiefs to hold crisis meeting on Plibisek. I mean, one thing this decision has done is actually unified all the New South Wales land councils in coming together, calling for better recognition and better understanding and better transparency in this process. What this minister has shown is Labor is not interested in listening to the recognised Indigenous voices in matters that affect them. If this minister did, she would have heard that support for this project was given by nearly every Aboriginal Land Council, including the Orange Local Aboriginal Land Council, as the recognised authority in this area under New South Wales law. There was neutral. They recognised the economic benefit. They felt that the risk to cultural heritage was minimal. But instead, this minister made the appalling decision. My understanding is she never travelled out to the site, but she listened to an organisation that has 17 people representing it, according to reports, that has no native title to the land. The Wiradjuri Aboriginal Corporation didn't even issue a written statement to the minister, choosing instead to convey their concerns verbally. We can't get to the bottom of whether that verbal information was passed on to a member of the department or directly to the minister herself. So if it was to a departmental official, the minister's actually getting the Chinese whispers because it's not a written statement. There is simply no way of confirming what was actually said to the minister and how that advice could possibly lead to a veto of federal and state approvals. And as we learnt through Senator Dunniam's questioning in Senate estimates, they didn't even send out the person who had done the Section 10 audit and who had recommended against the Section 10 declaration. The departmental appointed person was not sent out again to reassess and re-evaluate following this verbal information. So for a government that claims to be transparent, there is a significant gap between what is being said and what is being done. And it needs to be called out, and people need to be held accountable, and people need to be questioning the minister's reasoning for her decision. And day by day, her reasoning seems to change. She provides different reasons. I mean, first she said that the mine threatened cultural heritage. Then she said it was environmentally risky. Well, if it was environmentally risky, it would have failed the environmental approvals. If it was culturally risky, it would have failed the Aboriginal cultural heritage assessments that had been done at both a state and federal level. But Plibisek has shown no courage. Minister Plibersek, thank you for the correction. And by denying the release of details, she is showing a significant lack of transparency. And just recently, she's also blocked a request of an OPD by Senator Duniam. It's not good enough. This government was elected promising to be different, to be more open, to be more transparent. And what we have now got is a government of non-disclosure agreements, hidden consultations, and absolutely no transparency in their decisions, particularly in a decision that has come overriding other federal and state processes. Organisations that have no legally recognised authority over an area should not have the final say on nationally significant projects worth billions of dollars to the Australian economy over and above the transparent, robust federal and state processes that had already occurred. They cannot, that advice from an authority not legally recognised cannot be viewed when it directly contradicts that received by every other organisation. So a question I would ask of the Minister is what makes the word of 17 people more important than the word of the legally recognised Orange Aboriginal Land Council, more important than the departmentally appointed cultural auditor, more important than the state Aboriginal cultural heritage assessments, and more important than the EPBC process. The New South Wales Labor government was right to condemn this decision. Premier Minns was right to call the decision to block the mine a mistake, and he was right to call for the decision to be overturned. And my friend and colleague and the now Nationals candidate for Clare, Sam Farraway, was right in his role as an MLC in the New South Wales Parliament to move a motion calling upon New South Wales Labor government to work to revoke the federal government's decision. The Wiradjuri Aboriginal Corporation is closely involved with the hostile activism of the Environmental Defenders Organisation, which receives about $15 million of funding from the Albanese government. So our own government is funding an organisation that regularly takes court action against the government, that gets itself involved in dispute issues like this, that is absolutely anti-mining, anti-productivity and anti-progress. And we've seen just recently press announcements from the EDO that they've now set up a whole team to get involved in cultural and heritage issues to block projects such as the Blayney McPhillamys gold mine. So they are using, and in my opinion abusing, Aboriginal and cultural heritage issues for their own goals. The Coalition condemns the use of taxpayer money to fund nefarious and far-left activism and lawfare such as this, and particularly in cases such as Blayney. The claims being made by the Wiradjuri Aboriginal Corporation have been called out by the former chair of the New South Wales Aboriginal Land Council, Roy RC, who has said that such issues like this are making a mockery out of the native title process. The Minerals Council of Australia have similarly expressed their disappointment with the minister's decision and how it negatively affects Indigenous Australians. They point out that in 2022 alone, the Australian mining sector involved nearly 500 Indigenous businesses, spending upwards of $1 billion and directly employing over 5,200 Indigenous Australians, representative of 6% of the total workforce. The Minerals Council have said these are highly skilled, well-paid jobs that contribute directly to the government's Closing the Gap outcomes. But that won't happen at Blayney now. That won't happen because this minister has decided that 17 people can override the well-being for the broader community. The Coalition believes that to achieve real outcomes for communities, we need to back initiatives that will help the economy, support local jobs and create industry incentives. On this principle, the Coalition vows to reinstate the mine under a Dutton-Littleproud government. Because on top of the $1 billion in investments, this project would have also generated 1,000 local jobs and provided more than $200 million in royalties for the New South Wales government. Make no mistake about it, Minister Plibersek's decision to terminate the Blayney gold mine is not just a $1 billion loss to the Australian economy, it's akin to national sabotage. I have heard time and time again from others in the resources sector that they are now rethinking how much they invest in Australia because this decision undermines any level of certainty they could have had through our very long and very onerous approvals processes. Prior to this decision, while knowing that we have long and robust processes, there was a level of confidence in the system. Post this decision, that confidence has blown away because now they recognise they can jump through every hoop that is put before them and get every tick that they need, only to have it all ripped away on the word of a handful of people who've decided that they don't like a project for some reason and who probably have the backing of this new EDO team of cultural and environmental experts. Consider how many billions of dollars will never enter this country because this government has created such hostile conditions for investors. This Labor government should be ashamed of this decision. The Prime Minister should show some leadership in this matter and demand that the Environment Minister reinstate the mine. I know the Minister has defended her decision to invoke Section 10 and put a stop to the mine by suggesting the action only applies to the tailings dam. But people see through that as an excuse. People understand it takes time for mines and other large industrial projects to receive approval, and the Minister has actually admitted such herself more recently. So she knew, because she was warned, that even a partial Section 10 determination would make this entire project unviable, and she went ahead and did so anyway, based on the word of a handful of people about a Dreamtime story that other Aboriginal organisations in the region claim they've never heard of. This Albanese Labor government should be ashamed of itself and the damage it has caused, particularly the damage to our international reputation. They have knowingly opened a Pandora's box, and during a cost of living crisis, when this country needs important investments, when we need to start investing in productivity instead of public servants, for the sake of regional Australia, the Coalition calls on the government to overturn this decision. Thank you.